Is a live broadcast or not?
Yes. So, hello and welcome to our second talk, Lunchtalk of EIT Digital Helsinki. I'm Ingrid Schembri. I'm the co-location center manager. Our guest today is Ari Huczkowski, one of the movers and shakers of the Finnish innovation ecosystem. And together with his team, he was responsible for bringing 70 foreign delegations to Espoo area, 50 of which came to EIT Digital last year. So, grateful a lot to Ari and welcome him for today's talk.
Thank you, Ingrid. So my name is Ari Huczkowski and I'm from Espoo Innovation Garden, and I'm here to talk about Espoo Innovation Garden, this area inside of which also EIT Digital Helsinki node is located at. So you are right now in the city of Espoo, Finland's second largest city, the western part of Helsinki metropolitan area. A city that is a very special place. It includes Espoo Innovation Garden, and this is our community logo. So also not only for Espoo Innovation Garden itself, but also can be used in any innovative projects and whatnot here. It's a so-called open brand. Espoo Innovation Garden area in one way is the area of Aalto University campus and the business district of Keiloniemi, just next to us in the south, and district of Tapiola, which is a little bit to the west from us. But this triangle is about 1.5 kilometers per side, and inside of that there are all kinds of fascinating things happening. And this is on the West Metro Growth Corridor, which, for instance, in the coming years will be a place where housing for 70,000 new inhabitants of this city are going to be built, and an awful lot of all kinds of new investments happening along that corridor. So like this is actually from an old deck of ours, just demonstrating that inside this area you have a lot of different players, from large companies to different university and academia players, startups, different intermediary organizations and companies. New startup is born every week. In the West you have design culture and shopping. And on that there used to be a strategy of City of Espoo called T3, Tiede, Taide, Talous, Science, Art, Business. And on that structure of T3 also the Espoo Innovation Garden has been built. But the development of this area started already in 1940s. So in that sense, this is not a new thing. It's been in the making for 70 years. And it started with Alvar Aalto, professor of architecture at MIT in 1940s, and when he came back to Finland, he was given the task of designing a new university campus for Helsinki University of Technology. At that time, it was still residing in Helsinki, and the government decided that it needs a new campus, so Alvar Aalto was called to the job, and he designed a very American-style university campus where you have everything in one place. So he designed the street system here, so no wonder it's so curvy, like the Aalto vase. Also, all these red dots here are about those buildings that are designed by Alvar Aalto. All these black ones already exist. And then you have grey ones here that are in the plans. The newest grey one is the Vare building, which is going to be built, and the building has already started there in the middle of the campus for the School of Art, Design and Architecture. About Finland, because this deck is mainly used with different visiting delegations to here. In Finland, in southern Finland, you're in the only place of the world that is less than 10 hours away from both New York and the biggest capitals of Asia. And actually we're the closest point between European Union and the Asian capitals. Sometimes we jokingly say that India is our Florida, because it's the same time it takes to fly from San Francisco to Florida as it takes for us to fly to New Delhi. Only less alligators in India. When you're in Finland, you're also in a place that is ranking highly in many different relevant dimensions that have to do with innovation and competitiveness. In our city, more than 50% of Helsinki Stock Exchange turnover is generated by Espoo headquartered companies. and also over 20% of jobs are in ICT and digital sectors. When you look at the talent here, well, more than 51% of the adult population of the city have a university degree. Inside Espoo Innovation Garden, it's over 60%. And then there are plenty of those people who run different companies, work in innovative companies, and just haven't had time to graduate yet. Are any such people here in the audience right now? Because I would usually estimate that that's another 10% or so. These are the dimensions of what you have inside a walking distance. If you just walk outside the door and you start walking, this is what you're going to encounter. Over 100 different nationalities, over 25 different R&D labs and organizations, over 5,000 researchers. The second largest concentration in Northern Europe has 1,200 researchers. Then you have a lot of students, you have a lot of companies, all kinds of innovative things in a very small area. So the chances are that you get to bump into them. And through serendipity, maybe you find out something new, maybe you come up with a new idea or something. Some examples of what you got here. VTT. VTT is the third largest applied research organization in Europe, after Fraunhofer in Germany and TNO in Netherlands, and they research nearly everything. To the foreign delegations, we always say that VTT is a candy shop of innovation. They probably already have something patented that you can license if you just talk with them. And many have, of course, noticed this. Over 50 of the 500 largest companies on the planet work with VTT. So oftentimes we're using VTT developed technology without really knowing that we're doing so, because most things actually are happening under NDA. But here is a little bit more about those many different lines of research that VTT has. Then we have Aalto University, the merger of Finland's biggest technical university, biggest business university, and biggest design university. These are the 6 schools. There are some cool things here, like ME 310 program that is happening at Aalto Design Factory. That's done with Stanford. You have places like Aalto Digital Design Laboratory, where you merge nanomaterials, new materials, digital design. They have tens of different 3D printers and whatnot. And by the way, if you haven't been to AdLab yet, you should just simply go and visit. It's a really nice place. One curious fact about Aalto University is that more than 90% of Helsinki Stock Exchange CEOs are alumni of it. About the R&D competencies of this area. So let's take a look at what we got here. Novel materials. Like for instance, the Aalto carbon nanotube thin films, they have the lowest sheet resistance in the world. Graphene, self-organizing materials, atomic layer deposition. There's one slide about that a few slides later. Different biochemical technologies, like for instance, edible food packages. Eat the sandwich first, then you can eat the package after that. Probably not as tasty, but you can if you really want to. Or nanocellulose. There is a big nanocellulose research center on the hill with UPM, Aalto and VTT together. All kinds of product and industrial design. Actually also here at the EIT Digital Node. You all have seen the bubble there from aerospaces. I would say that that's precisely that. It's a design product. Bio and renewable energy. When it comes to biofuels developed here, they're developed from non-food raw materials. We believe that that's more ethical and sustainable than using, for instance, corn or just sugar directly as a raw material. Also some very interesting large-scale geothermal solutions. We all have seen the new SD1 pilot plant in the development here in the campus. They're drilling holes to go 7 kilometers into the ground, so developing distance heating for free pretty much forever, or at least as long as this planet stays hot. It's 120 degrees centigrade, 7 kilometers below the ground. Health and security ICT. One special thing about Finnish security technology is that because we're a small country, independent, we don't have to compromise with anybody when it comes to our security technology. Keep that in mind. Sensing and electronics. Actually, right there, behind those trees, you can see Micronova, Northern Europe's largest clean rooms, and a very big center for micro-electromechanical systems, all kinds of different microsensors and whatnot. So if, for instance, Severi would need some sensors, he doesn't have to go very far to find them. Wireless technologies, because of the so-called Nokia cluster, naturally this campus has the research infrastructure in place for every possible commercial and non-commercial wireless bandwidth. A lot of experts, which is why we have, of course, put here a picture of a guy with a lot of wires on him. But wireless technologies from pretty much any frequencies are being researched here. A lot of world firsts as well. Right now we have even a 5G test network in collaboration between Nokia and Aalto University here on campus with 3 base stations. Smart machines, so different types of robots, machine-to-machine systems, machine vision systems. Actually, when you enter EIT Digital Node here, you see those screens there in the lobby. They're actually not touch screens, but they're a machine vision-based solution developed by a company that was a spin-out from Helsinki Institute of Information Technology, which is further down the corridor. Now a globally growing company called Multitaction. Atomic layer deposition. How many of you know something about ALD? There's one expert. Anyways, the technology that you really need if you want to coat something with even sub-nanometer atomic or molecular layers. Now that, for instance, electronics is going into finer and finer dimensions, if you wanted to have protective layers, 3-dimensional, pinhole-free, you can't really even use anything else than atomic layer deposition. And this is a technology that was invented on this campus in the 1970s. So thanks to that, we have a strong cluster of ALD experts, both at Aalto University and VTT, and also in the several companies developing their own ALD tools and devices here on this campus. Carbon nanobud, a technology that allows you to develop flexible and even invisible electronics. A combination of single-walled carbon nanotube and fullerene was developed here on the campus, and there is a company called Canatu commercializing this technology now. Very fascinating technology. And about these large-scale geothermal solutions, here's another example. Fortum, headquartered here in Espoo Innovation Garden, Geological Survey of Finland, one of the research institutes, developed for Inex Partners, a big logistics center east of Helsinki that generates 15 gigawatt hours of nearly free energy per year for heating and cooling. About 12 gigawatt hours of that comes from the ground source, and the rest of it is mainly generated with biofuels. It's pretty fascinating actually that thinking about the climate of Finland, that you can get so much energy from underground in these nearly Arctic conditions that we have. Startups. Well, the EIT Digital Node here is one of those places where startups are being born and where they grow to become scale-ups, thanks to the programs that you have here. But this campus creates roughly 1 fundable startup company per week, and Aalto University are claiming that their system loosely creates about 160 per year. But of course, not all of them are risk fundable. But this is one of the reasons why when you look at Wired Magazine's September issues from the last few years, where they cover Europe's 100 hottest startups, you always find companies that were born and raised here. Actually, in the last September's issue, I think it was 8 companies out of those 100 that were developed here. mostly at Startup Sauna. Some examples of those startups. Here's one of the startups in the growth phase, originating from Design Factory. It was originally a project in the PDP program. So this is a solution that shortens the process of building a new building like this one, because it removes 99% of the dust when you're mixing cement. So it has very advanced filtration systems, and it does multiple different levels of efficiency increases by using this technology. They're already now delivering this technology to all the major construction companies in this country, and next going into international markets. Second example, Enevo, a company in environmental technology. So waste collection bins are a problem, because when you go and pick up those waste containers, some of them are nearly empty, some of them are too full. Anyways, it's not nearly optimized normally. In case of Enevo's solution, they have a sensor system here in the waste containers that communicates the information to the cloud, giving the waste trucks an optimized route for waste collection every day. So you can see the benefits for everybody. Pretty much a win-win-win-win solution. The latest I learned about this company is that now they have even expanded to Japan, where they have 2 guys now in Tokyo. Altogether about 200 people in the company, and the company is going real fast. Third example, Omega Wave. Have you heard of Seattle Seahawks? Have you heard of these other teams here? Golden State Warriors, Team USA, Manchester City, Ajax. They all are using Omega Wave to keep their team members at optimum performance level. The measurement takes about 2 minutes, after which you get very precise information about your condition and what kinds of exercise are good for you that day. It also tells you if you should not exercise at all. This is also available for just private users, and at least I'm one happy customer. Their headquarters are right there in Inopoli too. There is a whole cluster of these wearables and connected health companies. The way how startups grow here is our view on the growth path. You have the formation phase, companies coming from different universities and universities of applied science, sometimes also coming from different restructurings of big corporations, like back in the day with Nokia, right now with Microsoft, could be other sources. You have different private clusters like Espoo, Hardware Startup Finland, Serious Gaming Cluster Finland, all kinds of places where networking is arranged, like EIT Digital. You have different funds and investment players, both public players, local Finnish venture capital companies, more and more global and international venture capital companies. You have places for validation, like EIT Digital, Spino, VTT Ventures, Aalto Center of Entrepreneurship. You have co-working spaces, location and landing services, and now also accelerators, like Vertical Accelerator, EIT Digital Zone Accelerator, Signal Accelerator. Google Developer Launchpad Accelerator program was run here for the first time last year, and we were very happy to do that as the first place in Northern Europe. One of the main players in the startup ecosystem is Aalto ES, Aalto Entrepreneurship Society. It is nowadays Europe's largest student entrepreneurship organization, but very few people know that it actually started as a Facebook group by a couple of students back in 2009. They arrange over 100 different events per year, and they run different programs like Summer of Startups, Startup Life. That's where Slush organization came from. And Slush, of course, nowadays is the largest entrepreneurship event in Northern Europe yearly. Espoo, otherwise, there's about 420 international companies, and then you have those connections with the startups. Private clusters have become a very important thing here. Still a few years ago, the clusters in Finland were operated as part of the Center of Expertise program by the Ministry of Trade and Employment. But that funding was cut a few years ago. There was a short time without any clusters, after which private clusters started emerging. Clusters that are established by the industry themselves. So these three ones are very much active here. Health spa, that's wearables, connected health, smart home technologies, such about 250 companies in it. This is the old logo for Hardware Startup Finland. About 50, 60 companies in it, mostly IoT, different hardware technologies. And Serious Gaming Cluster Finland, companies in gaming industry with some other main purpose than just entertainment. And there the basic thinking is that talent attracts talent, and also the penguin thought. Like when you have, if you are one penguin in Antarctic, and it's -40, -50, you will just freeze and die. But if you huddle together and you circulate a little bit, there are much better chances of survival. So that's why it really makes sense for startups to get together, share experiences, resources, and get connected with the big companies. Accelerators. So first, some words about vertical accelerator. It's in technical tier 2, about 1 kilometer that way. Most of you probably have been there. Anyways, an accelerator for wearables, connected health devices, smart home technologies, and a new batch actually started just last week. And about half of those teams are from outside of Finland, which is also one of the typical things here. Startup teams are usually not 100% Finnish. Also when it comes to the accelerator programs, we're not even looking for just companies from around here. We source from maybe within 1.5 hours flight distance. And the idea is that, okay, let's work together to make these companies become really international success stories. At Vertical Accelerator, it's a 3 to 4 month program, co-working space, tens of different coaches. In that sense, a typical thing. Instead of minimum viable product, one is aiming to create minimum meaningful product that would actually be interesting and possible to sell to someone. The main partner of Vertical Accelerator is Samsung, and here you see some of the other partners. The new IoT accelerator, Signal, launching actually around right now. The teams arrived on Sunday, and here, in addition to regular funding, people and startups, also taken an infra support from Sigfox in France, corporations and municipality, customers and partners, and academia, strong connection especially with Aalto University and Metropolitan University of Applied Sciences. Startup profiles, they need to have at least a demo of the product, 2 to 3 core members, team members, and deal flow is sourced from roughly that 1.5 hours distance. Our role in this ecosystem. So this here depicts this area. You have big companies, small companies, you have public sector players, and you have academia. We try to function here in the middle, talking with everybody, be it Elo Spaces or be it EIT Digital or be it whoever. We want to talk with everybody, we listen carefully, what's going on, and we can arrange different events, we can arrange different programs, and get these different parts connected. And also, we are networking with other innovation hubs in the world, be it the Japan Innovation Network in Japan, or be it technology councils of North America, be it some other networks. We are very much connected in the northern hemisphere, not in the southern hemisphere yet. And through those channels we can help you get more growth. So here is some examples of our international networks. And the whole purpose of that is that we could create the future together. And now we are in the last slide. Thank you, and if you have any questions, we can chat.
Any questions for Ari? I have one. So if there's a startup, a local one, or a foreign one, is Espoo Innovation Garden a one-stop shop where they can come and get directions? Because there are a lot of resources, what you presented, and even more. So is that your role also?
Yes. Or what do you think, Severi?
Yeah.
We have one startup here.
Yeah. So Ari was kind and we offered us the office space for last summer. So we were there with Elias.
They were our summer startups.
Yeah. So and then Ari showed us to people, and that's how we got here at EIT. So.
Yeah, and Lee has connected you with some clusters, and we have brought some foreign companies to visit you, and so on. Yeah, absolutely. And we don't do all things ourselves, of course not. But you can always contact any of us, and we will open those different doors that we have. And by the way, from our team, we now also have here Alfonso, please, right? And Alfonso is our guy dealing mostly with United States, Israel, and Japan, and he has excellent large corporation contacts. And he's the one who brought Google Launchpad here last year, and some other very interesting visiting delegations and programs. But yeah, we're here to help.
Okay, so
like you guys too.
Yes, we have work contact here at least. Okay, well, thank you, Ari.
Any other questions? Okay, we can chat now for a while, and then we go to the next meetings.